والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Last week we had mentioned the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, where he narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had said, إذا مات ابن آدم انقطع عمله إلا من ثلاث. That whenever any child of Adam alayhi salam, any human being, they die, all of their actions end. They are unable to do anything for their benefit after their death. إلا من ثلاث, except there are three actions that after one's death, these actions continue to benefit the person who had done them. These actions, they continue to bring blessings, rewards and the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even after they have departed from the dunya. The first thing that was mentioned in the hadith, sadaqatin jariyah, the sadaqah one gives, that the benefit from that sadaqah and charity, it continues to be derived. As long as that benefit is being derived from this charity, then the person who gave the charity, even after their death, in their grave, in the hereafter, they will continue to get the rewards and blessings of that charity. So sadaqatin jariyah. We talked last week about how sadaqah is so important, and the various types of sadaqah include making mosques, madrasas, building wells and shelter, and even helping the people through marriage and any form, that the people continue to benefit from this charity that we have given. So it is a great amal, and may Allah Ta'ala give us all tawfiq that we make intention to give as much charity as possible. And even if we give a little bit charity, my brothers, we haven't got to give huge amounts. The more we give, the more better for us. But even we give £5, £10 regularly, this will build up on the day of Qiyamah after our death. These rewards and charity, they will be the cause of great mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second thing mentioned in this hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had said, أو علم ينتفع به. The second thing that will bring benefit to a person even after their death is that knowledge from where the benefit continues to be reaped from the knowledge of this person. So any knowledge that one has and they impart it to the people, or they benefit the people with that knowledge, this knowledge they have passed on and the benefits therefrom, these will continue to benefit the person even after their death. Of all the a'mal, the knowledge is a great amal and ibadah and a worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's important that every Muslim, they are always engaged with learning and learning from the ulama. Now what's happening is that people are doing so much distant learning, and rather than becoming close to the ulama and the friends of Allah, they are staying far away and learning knowledge from a distance. This is not positive. This may enable one to learn information, but for the real rectification of their nafs inside, they have to become close to the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They got to sit down with the mashayikh, the teachers and the scholars, so they can be in their company, they can see them with their eyes, and with their heart they create a relationship where they're not only listening and hearing information, but their heart is absorbing the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's a light of guidance on how to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala successfully and in a way where we are safe both in the dunya and in the akhirah. عن عثمان رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم in a hadith Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam had said, خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه, that the best of you is the one who they learn the Quran and they teach the Quran. This is the best of the people in a society, the best of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They learn how to not only read the Quran, but they learn to understand what is the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What are the expectations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The people have become like the parrot. They're just reading the Quran and memorizing and reading from their memory. But this will not save them from the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to understand what Allah ta'ala has instructed to us, what He has informed to us, and the way that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has shown us the light of Islam, the guidance of Allah, and the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we are finding in the ummah, the people in the millions and multi-millions, they are learning only how to read the Quran. We want to learn how that we can recite the Quran, but they are not giving effort to understand what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying in this Quran. And then after living for 80 years, 50 years, 60 years or 100 years, they go into their grave. And in that whole life, they would have read so many books and understood them of the dunya, but they never understood the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why Ahmad bin Hanbal radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he has said this is wajib and compulsory that the Muslim, they learn the Arabic language. Arabic is something which every Muslim should make the intention and the effort as well, that we have to start to learn the language of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will never understand the beauty of Islam, the beauty of the Quran, without understanding the language of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every time at the maximum we will suffice with the translation. How can we sincerely say we want to become close to Allah, we want to reach Allah, we want to understand Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we're never going to understand the language in its original essence? Imagine the father has the child, and everything the child learns is only via translation. How will be their relation between the father and his son? But for them to be close, they have to speak the same language. That's why we have the mother tongue. That every child will learn the mother tongue, because then they can become close and benefit from the relation of their parent. So may Allah Ta'ala enable us to understand the importance of learning this. And we are very fortunate that in this area we have the opportunity as well. Allah Ta'ala subhanallah, even in this area, we are looking here, there's actually no major big establishment, but yet the facility is there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has sent an imam to this area. There is someone around living in this part of the jungle, and they are able to teach the Arabic language. They are able to teach all the different subjects, but the people have to go to them and ask that we need to learn this one. The learning of knowledge and madrasa is not just for the children. This was the greatest calamity and foolishness that has taken over the entire of the ummah, that only the children are there to learn, but the adults, we are free from this one. This is nothing more further than the truth and the expectation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, خيركم من تعلم القرآن, the best of you, he's that one who he learns the Quran. He didn't say the child who learns Quran. Man ta'allama al-Qur'ana, the best of you, khayrukum, yani they were all rijal there actually. This hadith, when Uthman radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he's not narrating it with children in a madrasa, he's narrating it with the rijal, with the men and the sahaba, and to them was addressed the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that khayrukum, the best of you men, man ta'allama al-Qur'ana, who he learns the Qur'an, wa'allamahu, and he teaches the Quran of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He teaches the recitation of this Quran to his children, to his family, to his relatives, and to the community. To everywhere he has this knowledge. He wants to spread the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we teach this Quran, this also makes us among the best of the creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For the sport activity, and for the leisure and family, we have all the time in the dunya to go and spend with them time and play and enjoy and go out and make all the type of commitments to all of the various parts of the dunya, the people of the dunya. But for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we become so stingy. We haven't got the availability to go close to Allah, to become close to Allah, and to sacrifice for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the people haven't got knowledge, then they will roam around in ignorance, thinking that I know everything, I know what is sufficient. Even the great ulama, the people of knowledge and scholarship, and the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the awliya, all of them, they say, the more we learn the knowledge, the more we realize how really we are ignorant. The ignorance will never be recognized until that person, they begin to tread that path of seeking the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah Ta'ala enable us to learn the Quran, teach the Quran. And when we will teach the Quran and knowledge to our children or to any students wherever they be, then this will be a sadaqah and a reward, a blessing and a mercy even after we die and have met with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. عن أبي ذر رضي الله تعالى عنه قال لي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. In a hadith, Abu Dhar radiyallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had said to Abu Dhar, Ya Aba Dhar, O Abu Dhar, لأن تغدوا فتعلم آية من كتاب الله. If you were to wake up in the morning and you were to learn one verse of the Quran, خير لك من أن تصلي 100 ركعة. This is one verse of the Quran that you have learned. This is more better for you in a reward and blessings and achieving the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than for you to have prayed 100 rak'ah of a nafil salah. This is how magnificent is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how elevated is the status of the people who learn about the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam continued, وَلَأَن تَغَدُوَ فَتَعَلَّمَ بَابًا مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. That, O Abu Dhar, if you were to wake up in the morning and you were to learn one chapter of the knowledge, one chapter from the book of fiqh, one chapter from the deen of Islam, one chapter of the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this one chapter that you have learnt, عُمِلَ بِهِ أَوْ لَمْ يُعْمَلْ بِهِ. If you practice this knowledge or you do not practice that knowledge at that time, it's irrelevant, Ya Aba Dhar, because Ya Aba Dhar, if you learn one knowledge of Allah, خير لك من أن تصلي ألف ركعة. This one knowledge you have learnt of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's more better than if you had prayed for Allah 1,000 raka'ah salah. How virtuous is the seeking of a knowledge and a learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah ta'ala give us all tawfiq. We learn the deen of Islam, we make time for Allah, and we make time for Quran, and we sit down with the ulama, the mashayikh, so we learn Islam and we can teach Islam to our children, to our families. Because my brothers, we can go to madrasa and learn there, and this is a great blessing and light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in countries like UK and the Western world, or any part of the world where there are the madaris, this is the greatest blessing that Allah ta'ala can give to any people and land. But besides this, their parents are integral and important role models for their children. And when we learn Islam and practice Islam, when we make ourselves strong with the Quran and our iman is strong, then we will be also at home the great role model and example and guidance for our children. So together, the madaris, the parents, the family and community, they make the stars and successful people for the deen of Allah and sacrificing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah ta'ala give us all tawfiq. Next week we will finish the third part of this hadith, of the third thing that will benefit the people even after their death. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.